I love reading so much that from April, I started buying a lot of books and reading it constantly. Actually, let me. I'm trying to get others to read. And so here's where this project comes in. And reading is such a fundamental skill, and we are constantly needing it, whether you are reading fiction or nonfiction. You're gonna need it in school or work. We're constantly needing it. What is looking at my notes? Over 86% of the population in the world know how to read, and it's constantly being new releases with art or authors from around the world, fiction, nonfiction, contemporary, fantasy. Like there's so many different types of books that you can find. There's there's so many choices to make, and it's just it's just wonderful. But in this video, I want to break down the resurgence in the popularity over the last 5 years, um, the benefits and accessibility of digital reading and their effects on the public library spaces and free libraries, and how I would take these elements that I love so much and improve the current systems to make them better. Most people that I talked to in the last few years didn't normally pick up a book, but because of sites from or because of the side of the internet like BookTok and TikTok, that resurgence has kind of gotten way more. Um, I find that more people are buying or talking about a specific book, and it's really great. I love it. But I do have some issues. I love physical reading, but I also love being able to, as an artist, put on my headphones and listen to a book because it doesn't prevent me from having to pick art over reading. I can enjoy both at the same time, and it gets me so happy. Like, who doesn't love reading a book like this? I I know they're words, but they're such great stories. And there's so many out there. It has truly helped people, myself included, deciding that instead of to use my free time reading instead of doom scrolling on the internet. And because of that popularity, more of the various formats have gotten popular, like audio and digital reading. But, however, most of them are locked behind paywalls, or you have to pay multiple subscriptions to get various different forms. So, if you like multiple formats, like myself, reading or book, like physical, you would have to pay multiple subscriptions, which can over time become very expensive, and it's harder to access because you're having to pay multiple subscriptions. Surveys done with Canadian readers shows that between the year 2022 and 2023, that only 32% of those that took part read 1 to 5 books, which with over 63% of them stating that they wanted to read more. Physical reading is by far the most popular, but however, there is a collective 31% that like these other formats. I find that having various options or choices for how I want to read, I find that it can assist in more people picking up a book and changing the habit of grabbing their phones because it provides a more efficient way of getting readers to multitask, like doing the chores or sweeping, even vacuuming, or doing your makeup. It's so nice to just put your headphones on and just listen to the book while you're doing other things. I find that I do that listen to books when I'm doing homework. It's just some good background noise and gets me to condense my TBR, and it's nice to have options. Here's where I get to the pros and cons of these various formats. Digital formats have become easily accessible and have just continued to increase in popularity with our easy access to our phones or tablets and computers, with many sites specializing in specific like audio. With Spotify, if you have premium, you can get access to, I believe it's one book a month, or Audible with Amazon, and where you get multiple books during the month. And then there's, of course, devices like the Kindle or the Kobo, where you have to pay a few $100s for a device, and then you have like a little tablet where you can read. But my biggest con about these sites is, even if you buy a Kindle, you still have to, if you want more, you have to pay for Kindle Deluxe, which gets you a bunch of other things, but then that adds a subscription, or spending $13-14 a month on audio subscriptions, and even up to full price on some of these digital formats. The average person is spending over $300 yearly on these multiple subscriptions, one for audio, one for digital, not including the price for the physical books. With prices constantly increasing on bookseller apps like Indigo, audiobooks are ranging from $50 to $100, which is insane, per book, and their digital versions are only a few dollars short of the original print. For being digital formats, they are so accessible, yet companies are not willing to give users the access. But here are the benefits of having these multiple formats. Audio, for example, is great for when you want to work on other things like household chores, crafting, or even working on other projects like homework, or just an art project or writing project. Audio is also beneficial for those who struggle with visual comprehended text. Audio is also beneficial for those who struggle with visual comprehend. Audio is also beneficial for those who struggle to visually comprehend text, like dyslexia, vision difficulties, or even ADHD, to name a few. As somebody with dyslexia, sometimes on bad days, even if I want to read and I can't, it's nice to have that option to put on my headphones and still be able to continue my favorite book, and then give myself a break. Digital books are very convenient, accessible, and sustainable on the environment. Being able to grab whatever device you have your specific app or books on and take it wherever you go. Like a phone, tablet, or an e-reader, you're able to just grab and take it and just go on your way. But recently, Kindle, the most popular e-reader, has been making a shift in policy that doesn't allow users to back up their current books or future purchases, which truly limits how many books they're allowed to buy or keep without having to possibly buy another device. If something were to go wrong, like losing your Kindle, account deactivation, or even Amazon and Kindle removing a specific book, you could lose your entire collection because of this change in policy. Going back to the effects of the pandemic, libraries have been really struggling, but it has not stopped libraries from using digital medium to be shared and transferred. Kindle has a wonderful function of being able to access libraries' catalog through sites like OneDrive, the ability to search and access books with no added cost if you already have Kindle. Now, understandably, not everything can be free, but having an option to accessing a digital catalog for text from a library, it would be extremely beneficial for those who can't afford $20, $40 a month on subscriptions. And then it doesn't limit them from accessing things that assist in their hobby or possible education. Like I know with school, you need some books and they're harder to access because they're oftentimes quite expensive. After the effects of the pandemic, the usage and consumption of physical library books made a significant decrease. The 5-year difference shows the improvement in usage, but studies show that the habit of borrowing has completely shifted in how it originally was before 2020. Studies done by the Urban Libraries Council shows that digital literacy has grown significantly, the usage of e-reading growing up to 40% since the end of 2019, and the 30% decrease of physical material. Here's my favorite part: how I would improve the current system to make it more beneficial for the average user. There are definitely changes that need to be made to current forms of e-reading to be better sustainable. For example, I wish for an app where everything was condensed into one: audio, digital, being able to access digital versions of my favorite books. In the article, An Innovative Perspective on Design, it breaks down that a change in design processing can create more understanding of distinctiveness and a more creative approach to solving wicked problems. The article quotes, "We always need to consider the human knowledge, skill, experience, and and capacity for learning to know whether and to what extent a problem is wicked in the first place. The authors explore how a narrow or limited design thinking has become over the last few years and the limitations of creativity across design, using these ideas to make a more comprehensive approach to the design of a hypothetical new app/website. My major idea was combining audiobooks and digital reading to give multiple access to various different formats, creating something that allows users to have the ability of choosing how they'd like to consume a book. Brainstorming what would make it different from other devices like Kindle, Kobo, a lot of like Indigo sites, digital reading, wherever you get your digital books, creating something that allows users to have the ability of choosing how they'd like to consume a book. When brainstorming what would make it different, I came up with many ambitious ideas, but eventually I had to narrow down what was the most effective. For example, one of my more extreme ideas was the ability to scan the barcode of a book, like this one right here, and being able to access the digital format. But over time, I realized that in theory, it's a great idea, but there was more risks of theft because anybody could go into a bookstore and just scan a barcode and have access. So if I had some more time, maybe, but I'm not planning to start a company. It's just a hypothetical. But eventually I came up with the idea of making it more individualized. For example, with a learning disability like dyslexia, some fonts more than others are harder to process on different days. Having the ability to find a font that would be more accessible and easier to understand can change so many ways of reading. For example, Arial, Calibri, Helvetica, and Comic Sans are known to be dyslexic friendly fonts. By having the option to change and make things unique to you, you would be able to do so much more with these. These options give users a more individualized experience with the design. As someone who also enjoys multiple formats of reading, having the ability to enjoy the choice of format would make myself feel a little more productive and not having to choose one hobby over another. Also helps me narrow down my unread books. Yeah, I've got a problem. Because of sections of the internet like BookTok and YouTube making reading fun and cool again, it has sparked and renewed enthusiasm. And they're wanting to switch from having hours and hours of time spent just doom scrolling on social media to the switch of books and being able to imagine these wild worlds from contemporary fantasy, sci-fi. There's so many things that you can do or find that you can enjoy with books constantly being released. It's so easy to just put your phone away and pick up a new book. But that's all I wanted to say. In conclusion, reading is now back in style, and with so many different options of reading, there's so many things you could do with it. But my takeaway is go get a book. Go read. I found some. I'm gonna go check out. See you later.